Welcome to the Mischief. I'm Valen, and this is Vintage Story, Unearthed, for 120. So, I was looking into this chimney that I made in the previous episode, and figured, you know what? I keep getting cold in my test world while I'm in here in survival mode, so I figured I would check it out. So if you do, there's some commands you can do. You do have to have op access to this, but if you do /debug rooms high, and that's high as in hide. This is going to show you if everything is green, everything is good. And if it's red, then that it's looking for a room but not detecting a proper one. And if you want to undo this, you just type the same command and hit unhide, and it'll go away. Now, I did find some issues with the creation that I had set up here. Primarily, those slabs, I did have to replace the chiseled blocks. I mean, I realize it's the same exact size, but for some reason it's not acting as enough of an insulating face for that to have worked. So I did have to replace that. And forgive me, I am going to go into creative mode just so I can show you what I did with this other part. And I'm going into no clip mode, which means I can go into walls. Now, you recall that I kind of chiseled out a bit of this entryway. In all honesty, I don't really need much of this in here at all, but it's this area at the top. If I grab this section and I place it down, you can see what it looks like. This is probably about as thin as I could make it for the part that's protruding off the roof and still act as some kind of insulating face and still count. Because if I made this any thinner on the inside, then it actually would say that it doesn't work. And I did try running this down the center as well, and for some reason it didn't work very well there. But it works out here, and I would have to like start putting blocks on the outside because these roof ridges up against the space here doesn't actually count. Go figure. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you in case there was some confusion on there, because I did not want people thinking that that would be a very good way of insulating your house at the cost of just a few smoke particles that might make it outside of your abode, so to speak. So there are some other things that I still want to do to fix up the house, though. You might have thought I was done with the last episode. Oh no, my friends. Definitely not. So to start with, it getting late. Once upon a time you used to be able to hold a light source and chisel at the same time. That is no longer the case. I forgot my hammer. Let me go get that. So you will need to have a space to put a light source if it's a dark area in order to do this. But I do have some plans, and it will require a lot of wood. I'm going to show you some examples of some things that I have in mind. And it's rather wasteful, as just for some aesthetics, but I can't help it because I must have my aesthetics. And to start with, I'm just going to show you some of what I've got here. You see how this kind of protrudes a bit? I'm going to cut it down a little bit more. So we've got these support beams sticking out underneath here. It makes this whole like ragged, jagged edge look a lot better because then the roof looks like it's actually being supported. And then I'm going to do that on these corner bits out here as well. And chop these away. Actually, let me make that bigger. There we go. And then I'll put one more out here. It's going to be 2 for each one. Now there are some half slab slanted sod roofing bits that I could do that are like 1/2 this thickness. But sadly there's a bug that makes snow look, well, poopy at the moment. So I am not opting to go with that, or else it would save me an entire log per chop or per section. Now in this case, I feel like that might still be sticking out too far. Yeah, that works. Okay, so that's basically, when I look at it, you see this is one block, this is another, and it's going to be some supports. So I'm going to have supports coming out at the ends, and then I'm going to have supports coming out over here and over here. It's a work in progress, but I am also going to need a lot more wood to get this done. And I have another idea on how to kind of dress up these windows a little bit nicer than they currently are. as well as something better than this single sod roof ridge that is here, and that window up there. So I'm gonna go collect materials, and for that I'm gonna need a lot of logs, specifically oak ones, because most of my build is using that, and any leftovers will definitely be used as probably tanning agents. So I gotta go do a big chop, and I'll be back after I've got a decent amount of wood. I'm gonna need to empty my inventory out first. Alright, I got pretty chilly in the end, so I had to come back in, but I did end up clearing out all of the logs in the immediate area. You can see I also was using some shears, which I pretty much worked through the majority of them. I've got plenty of oak seeds, so I don't think I really need to shear those if I have the sticks going forward, so it's not as big of a problem. Let's grab one of these pieces of chalk here for illustrating purposes, and you can see now if I click here, there we go, now I can see the sticks. Okay, lovely. So I'm just gonna fill these up. I only have 4 sticks in there right now, so let's see how I do. 571 sticks. That's not too bad. And now I've got 31 oak logs, so let's start putting some of these away and see how I do. 197. That isn't too bad, all things considered. I also found that I had accidentally placed one rough-hewn oak fence somewhere out there, just like in the middle of nowhere. Kind of funny. But I am going to need a bunch of these oak logs that I just put away. So let's control-click and get, what, 2 stacks? I think I might need more than that. Let's go for 4, just to be safe here. Actually, this'll work. I've got 3 of those, and I can put back the regular wood. This way I'll have 3 stacks of the quad logs, and I can start using these in my chiseling creations. Now, as much as having the rope ladders is handy, sometimes you just want to be able to stand on something that's tall enough to allow you to reach multiple areas and not be supported by anything. So in this case, I am just going to do this. Alright, this side's done. I think I might end up adding something else up there later on. Maybe I'll use an upside down stair. For the moment, I'm just going to leave it as it is though, as I'm pretty pleased with how that's looking. Okay, not too bad. Looking a little better. I also have an idea for these little, like, sod roof things for the windows here. I'm not liking where this is. Where is the... There it is. Trying to find the little bits that these are attached to can be challenging at times. And I am going to need to make plenty more of those for what I have in mind. Oh, did I accidentally chop up this? It appears I did. There we go. So let me gather a few more materials. I'm going to need to make a whole bunch more support beams. For starters, I'm going to half the size of these sod roof ridges just by cutting them in half by recrafting. Now, you can try recrafting again and won't do anything. You've lost that. So just keep in mind that's a once-of thing. The other thing I'm going to need... Oh, this makes 4. I thought that only made 1. Okay. So that's kind of convenient. Let me put this back then. Is I'm making some of these sod roofing corners for the outer edge. And I'm going to make this little, I don't know, just kind of an area for things to be covered at the front door. So if I put one of, where are they? This here on the front. And then I put, I can't remember which angle it starts at. No, that's not it. So the corners will place depending on where you're facing. There we go. So I'm going to need to place this way. There we go. Now, you may notice that there's a plank facing underneath. It's kind of sad, but I plan on covering that up. and that's part of why I'm going to need more support beams. For now, though, I think I can do this, and this will help illustrate at least. Now I'm going to need more than this, but it should cover it up enough that I'll be able to do what I was looking to try and accomplish here. So, that aside, let's put... Oh, shoot, that didn't work. I was hoping that this would fit nicer. There we go. And that's what I plan on doing for the little windows here on the side, which I think is quite neat. There we go. Just to give it a little topper, but nothing too heavy. I might even do that with these side ones over here, too. There we go. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. I didn't want it sticking out quite as far as that. So I think next is going to be kind of working on... I still want to have like the little support beams coming down and stuff, but I'm also going to have like these little crosses. And I think I have to actually aim here. And then I've got to find like a central spot to do this. See, that's a little too far. I want this line to be somewhere in the middle. So let me see if I can find the outline. Just a little tip. If you end up using a support beam here, be sure to... there we go. That looks much better. Not hold it when you're looking at it, because if you're holding a support beam when you're trying to find this bounding box, you won't see one, which is kind of strange. I would think it would be the other way around. Let me get some food and I'll start making some more of those beams. Alright, so debarking the logs, I get the base recipe, and then of course I can use that just by recrafting. Let me open and close my inventory grid. It's just a quick way of emptying it. And then I can make a whole bunch of these beams, which you're never going to have enough once you start using them. There we go. Okay, I'm liking this so far. And now if I can just put that like there. Yeah, now we're talking. Something just really cute. Alright, I'm going to reproduce this on the other windows as well. And I'll be back once that's accomplished. Alright, now to finish this little bit here, just so it kind of covers up the under area, which kind of looks better already. But then on top of that, I'm thinking I want this to come out and look kind of nice here, I think. Yes! Now we're talking. This is looking quite cozy. The only thing I think it's missing at this point is that... I'm going to need to have a new lantern made, because... Is it better down here? No, I think it's better here. So I'm going to make myself a new molybdochalkos lantern, because that just looks too cute to go for. And these up here, I think I'm just going to leave. I don't think I'm going to mess with those at all, because I like where the how the snow falls on there, and if I add anything or change anything on those, that could definitely mess that up. So I'm going to leave it for now. And I'm pretty happy with the results. Next snowstorm, everything should line up, looking pretty good, including our little issue with that. And I think I can take this down now. Let me grab my shovel. I can collect all of my laddery bits, and yeah, I've got a cozy little house going on here. I'm pretty happy with this. So let's say you want to have like an outline in here, but there are things like tools in the way. Let's put this here. You can see here that if I try placing some of these support beams in this place here where this tool is, I can't really do so, because the rest of the beam is just going to be invisible as far as like placement outlines. So you can sometimes cheat that a bit by overriding an area. Let me show you how you can do that. Now, this is going to mess up my storage momentarily down below where my food stuff is. But if I do this, then I can grab here and I can place it on this block instead of this one. And place it up here. But the problem with this, let me actually go downstairs and grab this, is that now if I try placing this here, it'll say there's another block in the way. So if you really want to, you could feasibly go all the way through a whole nother block. Let me actually chop this away. This is taking too long to chop through. So let's grab this. And I don't know if it's going to look alright or not, but I figure I might as well do this and see how it goes. Let's put it just straight to there. And I can put this other block back. And you can see it's there. And if I go downstairs, I don't think you can see it. No, you can't, because there's the little cut through. So now if I try putting something here, it won't let me because it says that there's a block in the way. But that is one way of kind of cheating something if you want to use the floor space. Because now let me put this. I can still put stuff down here, and it's great. So yeah. Now that there is a slight problem with that, and that is that if you don't like it, it's probably going to bother you, and that's the lighting change. Because it goes through a block, for some reason the beam itself ends up not getting lit because it's not being affected by light properly in the same room that it's in this end. It's trying to take the light from the block that it's like snugged up against or something. So that is a little bit of an issue, and I don't have any more lights for me to even do this. If I put a torch here, I don't think that's going to change the color of it. It did a little bit, so if I get a proper lantern down there, that would probably do it. Maybe it's time I made a couple lanterns, considering that I can make plates without too much issue now. Oh no, wait, look, that fixed the lighting issue. I just apparently needed to... Oh, I see. It's just not affected by my personal light. But when I get close by, it's fine. Okay. Well, sometimes you learn new things. Either way, though, I think in this case, I'm going to forego that and just kind of skip it. I don't like how it was looking, especially since I'd need to do that with this door as well, and I'm not entirely sure I'd be able to. So I just took that out. But I do like the plank across the top. Maybe I can still do that with this one. No, there's stuff in the way. Let's try that again. So if I place this here... Yeah, there we go. That's not too bad. Okay, I at least like having something in there. I still might change that up later, but it is better. So if I do something like this and try to make like an interior windowsill, that does exclude blocks from being placed here now because that space is part of it. So yeah, beams are great until they're not. Speaking of, I'm going to need a sick amount of those for me to actually get the windmill look that I'm going for, but we'll see how that goes a little bit later. Okay, as it is daytime, I can see better without that. I'm probably going to have to make do with a torch for now, because I need to go mining for some lead in order to make the molybdochalkos, I think is how it's pronounced. My gosh. There's tons of areas up above. Oops, that's not what I was looking for. Up here, I've got several lead deposits, and they're all surface, so they're going to be just as easy to find as a bunch of copper. So it'll just be like a few blocks below the surface. And there it is, just a couple blocks down into the surface. Alright, let's find out just how much I got. Looks like quite a bit, actually. That's not too bad at all. More than 2 stacks worth of nuggets. And now I just need a whole bunch of copper to mix in. Hey, there we go. I think I'm just going to go with the old method of 128 and 12. Should make 7. Actually, I've got 8 ingot molds worth. I think it's actually better if I go a little over. Maybe. We'll see. Yeah, definitely a bit better or more thrifty. I don't know what you want to call it there. If I go 1 more ingot, which is 800, and I've got more than enough for the ingot molds, and it doesn't take very long for these to actually cook, or cool, I should say, or cook for that matter. In fact, I think it's all based upon the speed of the copper cooking in this case. So I'm going to use a bunch of the coal, the regular black coal, because I've got probably that's the most amount of the high fuel that I have at the moment. And once that's ready, I'll pour it out. We'll hammer out a couple more lanterns and be good. There we go. Now, just to keep the heat going in here, I'm going to put in enough for some candles to cook. with the remaining heat in there. And then we have 2 candles all set and ready to go. But I'm not done yet. I still have more things I need to do in here, and that involves getting some food. And I think I can just use a little bit of peat in order to get this going. So I'm just making use of whatever heat I possibly can while I can. And I just need to wait for these to cool off. I've got 2 candles that are going to be good for the lantern. Basically, the recipe is going to be like clear quartz on either side with a plate underneath, and I've got more than enough to make like 4 plates worth. So I think I'll just pound out a couple of these once they've cooled off, leave the rest sitting aside for the future, because I'm not sure if I'm going to want to use them for plates or something else. I mean, now that I look at it, there's actually a plaque you can make. Oh, that's also from plates. Maybe it is just best to just turn them into plates, because you can't actually use them with chains or lamellae or scales. I don't know why you'd want to make those, because they're not useful for anything else. But I guess I should just turn them all into plates so that I can use them. Nice. Alright. 8 ingots worth. Looks like I'm going to need a little bit of fuel. There we go. That should be some protected light source for me at the very least. But let's put 4 of these in here. Oh, that's very good. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see if I can actually get this cooking quick enough in order for me to get this done. Oh, I'll need that torch. Just to speed things up a little. Heavy hit kind of helps in between hits. Not always. And if you hit it on an edge, it'll just kind of spread things out a little bit, so that some of these pixels can get filled. Because sometimes you're working against the Helve Hammer. So I just like to give it a few heavy hits just to try and get a few pixels filled up if I can. Because you notice that it's kind of doing a struggle right now, where yeah, I'm not entirely sure it's going to be able to finish this, but we'll see. And because of that, I think I'm going to wait before I light the next 4 ingots, because this isn't exactly the fastest setup, and it'd be a lot easier on me mentally and physically if I just waited for the wind to be much higher than what it is now. Either way, thank you, Helve Hammer. You have made things so much nicer. So let's take both of these, combine them together. I know that they're still hot, but that's okay because I've got the tongs in my offhand. But there we go. I now have a couple of those. I can put one in my own hand, and I can use the other one wherever the heck I want. In this case, I can even stack them, which just kind of makes it a little bit easier. And speaking of putting things where I want, where do I want the ingots? I think I'll put those there for now. I don't really have a better place for it. So I think next I'm going to work on making a path. It doesn't sound like much, but this is going to make my travel a bit simpler. It's best if I can do like 2 path blocks next to each other, because then I'm not like accidentally running off of it. But I think I'm going to start with a single path and then expand from there. And as you can see, it's not too bad of a recipe. If you want to look up, you can always just look up a path in here. There are stairs. There's also full-size blocks, which is pretty much double the cost. But I'm not really interested in the full-size block at the moment. I'm not really sure. Maybe I am. But for now, I'm definitely going to go with the half-size block because it's a lot cheaper. And I'm planning on using this to reach the shore to the west of where I'm at. Because if I'm going to be having a boat, I'm going to be needing a way of getting there relatively quickly, because this is all enclosed area. Not going to work. But I am thinking if I can make a way to get over here, maybe over here. I don't know. Oh, there's a bear waypoint. Maybe I don't go there. But I am thinking maybe somewhere around here anyway. I'm going to have some kind of dock that goes out into the water so that I can head north, looking for the Resonance Archives later on. But of course, that's down the way. And it being evening, I think I'm going to do another sleep and then head out first thing in the morning. Having a window here and being in F5 mode, I can actually see what it looks like outside and hop out of bed a little bit early if the daylight comes up, because I definitely want to take advantage of the daylight while I can. So now the question is where to put it. I've got my house looking pretty good, and I'm pretty happy about that. Man, that windmill really needs to get work done. Don't worry, we'll get to that in time. I could work on that next, but I think I want to get this path going, because specifically these pits are the pits. They're terrible. It really looks like crud compared to everything else that I've got going on around here. So I think it's time that these go bye-bye, and I'll start picking up some of the extra dirt for me to start making some of these holes get filled in. There we go. All right, it's looking a little bit better already. Now to just fill some of this in too. Okay, that's a bit more natural, and I've left enough space that I can still claim the red clay that is around here. But I am going to need to start making this path. So what I could do is place it down on top of everything, but then that looks just really weird. So I think instead, actually that takes longer to dig up than I had thought it would. Instead what I'm going to do is kind of lay this down in the ground, and we'll see how it goes. In fact, I might even make this a little bit of a diagonal. There we go. Now I think these are, no, they are not craftable like that. Oh, and I can't put them on the top half. It's only on the bottom. Oh, well that kind of makes it a bit yucky. I feel like I've just wasted a couple stacks of stones now, because that looks way too low. Okay, maybe I am going to go with the more expensive recipe after all. Not to worry though, I can use those instead of kind of like stairs. I could just use those as like a gradual way of raising things up. As I've got some dirt to start with and some stones, I'll go from there. Yeah, that looks a bunch better. It's also really quick to travel on as well. So I think I am going to use a bunch of my dirt reserves. I'll leave the packed dirt. I'll take just the regular low quality soil and go from there. Yeah, it got a little chilly outside, so I had to come inside to thaw off a little bit. Oh, yeah, that body temperature needs to get back up there. It's day 3 of making the path. I have constantly been running out of stones. Of all the things to run out of, stones. I seem to be doing alright on dirt because honestly I can just dig up whatever dirt I'm finding so far. But yeah, I've got a ways to go still. And just to give you an idea of the progress I've made so far, it's not too bad. I've got a little tunnel system here, you probably saw as I just ran through. I'm very nearly there, but I still don't think that I have quite enough. I am probably going to have to do another mining run before I end up finishing this. But still, I've made some good progress here. Nice. Yes. About 2 blocks up, as I was practicing in the previous time. Okay. That worked pretty good. And there we have it. I finally did it. It took me a while and a lot of stone, but the end of the road leads here, which is where I plan on having a dock coming out for the ship that I plan on building to be launched from. But for now, I think I'm good, and this is probably where I'm going to end it. And with that, I think we'll pause and end it here for this episode. Tune in next time for the continuation of Vintage Story Unearthed for 120.